with NATO leaders. Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke says he's taking a job in the Trump administration.
But what about the job he's supposed to be doing here in Milwaukee County? Our political reporter Theo Keith is tracking Clarke. Theo?
Brad, Steph, I started this investigation more than 7 months ago in October, long before Clarke announced he was resigning for a job in the Trump administration. Now we're getting the clearest picture yet of just how often the sheriff has been around. It's not easy getting answers from Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke. That's me on the right getting blocked by a member of the sheriff's 5-person entourage as I asked questions this month. Sheriff Clarke. The sheriff's office has been slow to hand over records in a Fox 6 investigation into how much time Clarke spends doing the job taxpayers elected him to do. Since we asked in October, it's taken more than 7 months to get any of the sheriff's calendars that show his schedule in 2015 and 2016. The sheriff's staff say that's reasonable because they get a lot of requests, but Bill Leaders disagrees.
It's way too long.
Leaders is president of the Wisconsin Freedom of Information Council. He says the delay goes against the state's open records law and allows the sheriff to operate in secret.
I think that the sheriff's action shows actual contempt, not just for the media, but for the citizens that pay his salary. That he is essentially saying it is none of your business how I do my job and how I spend your money.
After 7 months and 2 follow-up requests, the sheriff's office provided Clarke's schedule for 90 of the 640 days we asked for, 14%. Over January, February, and March of 2015, the records show Clarke flew to New York, Omaha, Las Vegas, D.C., Colorado, Maryland, California, and back to New York. Taxpayers paid for 2 of the trips, so Clarke could spend parts of 8 days in D.C. testifying before a congressional committee and meeting law enforcement officials, plus media interviews, then 6 days in New York with the NYPD and more media. The sheriff's county credit card was billed $2,400 for travel, hotels, and meals, including at 2 steakhouses, records from the Milwaukee County Comptroller indicate. When you add up expenses, speaking fees, and gifts, private groups ponied up $28,000 for the other 6 trips, according to a disclosure form the sheriff made public last year. We put each of the 90 days we got into one of 4 categories: in county, in state but not in county, out of state, and no record. For 68 of the 90 days, the records do not include any work the sheriff did in Milwaukee County. This includes 34 days when his office completely redacted the records, didn't provide any, or the records don't show where the sheriff was, like this nearly 2-week stretch in February 2015. On 32 other days, the only record provided shows the sheriff was out of state. There are 2 days when the records show Clarke in state but not in the county. Of course, the sheriff could have been in Milwaukee County on any of these days, but the calendars provided by his office don't show it. That leaves 22 days out of 90 where records indicate the sheriff did business in Milwaukee County, though on some of the days that's only a half-hour media interview. Clarke's schedule shows a total of 9 meetings with members of the public in Milwaukee County over the 3-month period.
You're the elected sheriff.
County Executive Chris Abele slammed Clarke.
You know, I can't tell you where he's been all the time that he's not in the county, but I can tell you that the county's not well served by it.
There's another batch of records that the sheriff's office doesn't control. Milwaukee County employees have electronic key cards to access county buildings, to open exterior and some interior doors. And records show how often Clarke and his 2 top inspectors were using their access cards. Over 13 months from February 2016 to March 2017, Inspector Edward Bailey, who has since retired, used his key card 565 times. Inspector Richard Schmidt, 688 times. Over that 13-month period, there is no record of the sheriff using his key card even once. This is the sheriff's record for key card usage.
There's nothing here.
What could be the explanation for that?
Well, either he gets in without a key card, or he's just not in very often.
County facility staff tell Fox 6 that the sheriff has access to a courthouse parking garage, but the county doesn't keep a log of how often that garage gets used. On May 3rd, we asked for an interview with Clarke but got no answer. A week later, after an event in Milwaukee, the sheriff's security physically tried to block me from asking questions. Sheriff Clarke, why the lack of transparency from your office? Clarke stayed silent and walked through a storage room away from me. Records access is not the same across governments in Wisconsin. Governor Scott Walker has directed state agencies under his control to speed up their responses.
Some of the best motivation for agencies to improve is if people, not just me, but if the general public can see where they're at in terms of reaching their goals.
Leaders says access to an elected official's schedule should come easily.
You just have to take these things seriously. The law requires that.
On Monday, I again asked to talk with Clarke about this. His spokeswoman told me yesterday the sheriff said he is busy now and can't talk to you, but you can try back again. And we plan to.
I'm sure you do. So let's get to the bottom of it. Is he or is he not taking a job in the Trump administration?
Well, that's really the mystery of the hour at this point, isn't it? Even the sheriff seems to be unsure these days, and the Department of Homeland Security has not confirmed the job Clarke says he's taking was ever offered to him. We can tell you, though, that the federal government also has an open records law, so Clarke will not be immune there from taxpayers finding out what he does on their dime.
A lot of questions without answers.
For sure.
Theo, thank you.
Yeah.